South Korea and the U.S. wrapped up their annual Ulchi Freedom Shield drills on Friday, as Seoul urges Pyongyang to stop its hostile rhetoric and join efforts toward a peaceful coexistence on the Korean peninsula. A record-breaking chip boom pushed Korea's exports to a new high in the first 20 days of August, delivering a $14 billion trade surplus. Korea's historic treasures take on new life after sunset, as the National Heritage Night Festival brings together dazzling lights, cultural performances, and centuries of history. South Korea and the U.S. have wrapped up their annual joint military exercise 6 days early, following Washington's decision to sharply scale back the drills. But just a day before the drills ended, North Korean leaders Kim Jong-un's sister Kim Yo-jong took aim at Seoul, ridiculing its response to the reduction. Our Park Jung-sung starts us off.
The Ulchi Freedom Shield exercise came to an early end Friday after being scaled back by nearly half following U.S. President Donald Trump's order earlier this week. A day before the exercise ended, Kim Yo-jong, the North Korean leader's sister, mocked Seoul over the reduction. The statement describes Seoul as being put in a pitiful position by having to scale back its war games at a single request from U.S. President Donald Trump. The statement also said that South Korea's military is a puppet army that had handed over its command authority and called the situation a deserved disaster. Kim also criticized South Korean President Lee Jae-myung by name. Referring to Lee's social media post saying he paid tribute to Trump for ordering the joint exercise to be scaled back, Kim accused Lee of flattering Trump while at the same time calling for stronger independent defense capabilities. The statement came a day after North Korea signaled possible openness to dialogue with the U.S., following Trump's call for talks with Kim Jong-un. With Kim Yo-jong issuing statements late at night for 2 straight days, apparently timed according to U.S. hours, experts say Pyongyang may be seeking to deal directly with Washington while keeping Seoul out of the process.
North Korea has yet to give a clear answer on whether to hold talks with the U.S., and Pyongyang may still be debating whether to enter talks and under what conditions. This could be an early sign that it wants to keep South Korea out of the process.
Such a scenario is often referred to as Korea passing.
North Korea is continuing its criticism of the South to prevent Seoul from trying to insert itself into the process. It also needs to maintain that stance domestically, given its two-state policy toward the two Koreas.
The professor added that Pyongyang will likely seek direct talks with Washington to pursue sanctions relief and recognition as a nuclear weapons state. Following the North Korean statement, South Korea's presidential office on Friday urged North Korea to stop unnecessary criticism and work together toward peaceful coexistence on the Korean peninsula. A presidential official said South Korea will maintain close coordination with the U.S. while working as a pacemaker to help resume dialogue between Washington and Pyongyang. Park Jung-sung, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea sees a tectonic shift in regional diplomacy as the prospects emerge for renewed talks between the U.S. and North Korea. The Unification Ministry emphasizes that reviving negotiations remains the top priority to break the current deadlock on the Korean peninsula. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
South Korea is expressing optimism regarding recent diplomatic developments between the U.S. and North Korea. On Friday, Unification Minister Chung Dong-young at a meeting with religious leaders called this a tectonic shift.
Broadly speaking, a tectonic shift initiated by U.S. President Donald Trump has begun on the Korean peninsula. While it is too early for either optimism or pessimism, a summit between the U.S. and North Korea can be anticipated. I believe this could serve as an opportunity to realign the geopolitical situation on the peninsula and, by extension, Northeast Asia.
Chung also said earlier in the day that the past year was a time of frustration. This comes as he has repeatedly emphasized that a summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will be constructive, and this will be able to change the current status of deadlock. President Lee Jae-myung as well, since his time as a lawmaker, has continuously supported resuming Washington-Pyongyang negotiations. He previously directly offered to act as a diplomatic pacemaker to Trump's peacemaker and hasn't let go of the term to facilitate a resumption of talks between the two.
적대와 대결의 에너지를 평화 공존과 공동 번영의 동력으로 바꿔내겠습니다. 페이스메이커이자 한반도 평화의 당사자로서 그 역할과 책임을 다할 것입니다.
Meanwhile, the government says acting as a pacemaker does not mean South Korea is being bypassed. A high-ranking Unification Ministry official stated the core priority is setting the table for dialogue to break the status quo. This suggests Seoul prioritizes the revival of diplomatic momentum over immediate direct participation. The official added Washington will not recognize the regime as a nuclear state, maintaining complete denuclearization as the ultimate objective. 김도현, 아리랑 뉴스.
President Lee Jae-myung has called for stronger efforts to root out corruption here in Korea. Speaking at his administration's first anti-corruption policy meeting at the Blue House on Friday, he noted that Korea ranked 31st out of 182 countries in Transparency International's 2025 Corruption Perceptions Index. He called the ranking somewhat embarrassing, pointing to the country's much stronger performance in other areas, such as exports and current account surplus. He urged officials to correct any wrongdoing that may have been overlooked simply because it was considered a long-standing practice. The heads of 18 related government agencies attended Friday's meeting. And President Lee has appointed Deputy Trade Minister Park Jung-sung as the new chief trade negotiator. The Blue House announced on Friday that the trade official, who has served for 30 years, is expected to lead pending issues based on his experience, having led a U.S. tariff negotiation task force and WTO investment negotiations. It added that he has been in charge of U.S. investment and tariff talks at the working level and is expected to maximize the national interest when it comes to trade talks with Washington, while maintaining continuity of the talks. Now, former Trade Minister Yo Han-gu was recently dismissed with no clear reason given to the public. President Lee Jae-myung has designated several areas hit by recent heavy rains in southern Korea as special disaster zones. According to senior Blue House spokesperson Kang Yu-jung, they are Gov't City and parts of Cheongyang City in Gyeongsangnam-do Province. The designation provides additional government funding for recovery efforts, while affected residents will receive tax payment deferrals and reductions in utility bills. Kang added that other regions could also be declared as special disaster zones if further assessments show they meet the required criteria. Korea's exports hit a record high for the first 20 days of August, as booming semiconductor shipments helped to generate a trade surplus of $14 billion. Park Jung-sung has the details.
Korea's August outbound shipments have reached a record high for the period in the first 20 days of August. According to preliminary data released by the Korea Customs Service on Friday, exports from August 1st to the 20th stood at $55.2 billion. That is a massive 56% jump compared to last year. Semiconductors drove the rally, with chip exports skyrocketing 198.8% year-on-year to a record $26 billion. The chip boom is so strong that semiconductors now make up nearly half of Korea's total exports, accounting for 47.2%. Other tech products also saw massive gains, with computer peripherals jumping over 240%. However, not all sectors saw an upward trend, as passenger car exports dropped by 45.1% during the same period. Looking at major trade partners, exports to China more than doubled, surging by 118.6%. Shipments to Vietnam and the U.S. also saw significant jumps of 67.4% and 59.4% respectively. Together, these three nations account for 52.6% of Korea's total exports. During the same period, the country's imports increased by 19% to $41.2 billion, fueled in large part by stronger demand for foreign semiconductors, chip manufacturing equipment, and crude oil. Because record-breaking exports vastly outpaced imports, Korea posted a solid trade surplus of $13.97 billion, signaling that strong economic momentum driven by the semiconductor supercycle remains intact. Park Jung-sung, Arirang News.
Korea is setting up what is being called a future fund to fuel long-term economic growth using windfall tax revenue driven by the recent semiconductor boom. Now, the plan announced by the Ministry of Planning and Budget on Friday said that instead of spending this extra money immediately, the government plans to save a tax revenue that exceeds the 10-year average trend. Now, ranging from 60 to 100 trillion won, the fund will be heavily invested in 4 key areas: support for younger people, regional development, education, and new growth engines. Meanwhile, for the first time in 55 years, the government will overhaul its education budget system to reflect the shrinking student population, with a package of related bills set to be submitted to the National Assembly in early September. Korea's producer prices fell in July for the first time in 11 months as tumbling oil prices outweighed a summer heat wave's impact on farm produce. Park Joo-hee has this report.
Korea's producer prices fell in July for the first time in 11 months as a drop in global oil prices outweighed the impact of a summer heat wave on farm produce. According to the Bank of Korea on Friday, the producer price index fell month-on-month for the first time since August 2025. The index had risen for 9 straight months from September through May, held flat in June, then turned lower again in July, coming in at 129.39, down 0.4% from June. Year-on-year, the index rose 7.7%, easing from an 8.6% rise in May, the fastest pace since July 2022. Looking into specific categories, industrial goods led the decline, falling 0.5%, as coal and petroleum products dropped 5.1% and chemical products fell 1.3% on lower global oil prices. Electricity, gas, water, and waste fell 0.6%, with residential electricity rates down 11.8% as Korea eased its summer peak usage pricing tiers. Services slipped 0.4%, dragged by a fall in financial and insurance services as brokerage commissions plunged 16.8% amid a stock market pullback. Agricultural, forestry, and marine products, however, rose 1.5%, with farm produce up 2.4%. Lee Hyung-ho, head of the Bank of Korea's price statistics team, said that prices of agricultural, forestry, and marine products were driven up in July due to the heat wave, poor harvest for some vegetables, along with mass die-offs at fish farms from high water temperatures. But he also said that the rise is still more modest than a year before, when heavy rain and heat pushed the same category up 5.6% in July 2025. The central bank says the heat wave's effect has been limited so far in early August, but will depend on how it is for the rest of the month. He noted that a temporary cut in telecom charges last August created a low base effect, making this year's year-on-year figures look steeper. Park Joo-hee, Arirang News.
The U.S. Treasury has doubled its long-term bond buyback program in an aggressive attempt to tame soaring yields. However, growing concerns suggest this intervention clashes with the Federal Reserve's anti-inflation stance. Cha Yoon-kyung has more.
Global financial markets are facing renewed turbulence as U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's aggressive market intervention is coming up against stubborn economic realities. Following the Treasury's announcement to double long-term bond buybacks to $4 billion per operation, yields that had been soaring as well as the dollar have temporarily cooled. However, long-term yields quickly resumed their upward trajectory. Experts point out that a $4 billion cap is not an ultimate solution, as national debt has surpassed $40 trillion for the first time. Secretary Bessent stated that the figure holds no special magic and that the U.S. can grow its way out of the debt mountain. Despite such optimism, structural pressures continue to push borrowing costs higher. Analysts note that corporate bond issuance by big tech giants fueling the AI boom is driving up real interest rates. This strategy has also sparked fears of fiscal dominance, raising concerns that political pressure to lower interest rates could undermine the Federal Reserve's independence. On Thursday, St. Louis Fed President Alberto Musalem firmly distanced the central bank from the Treasury's actions, emphasizing that monetary policy is set independently, entirely focused on inflation and the labor market. Meanwhile, ripple effects quickly hit Asian markets. On Friday morning, spilled-over losses from Wall Street caused South Korea's KOSPI to open sharply lower and triggered a sell-side sidecar on the Kosdaq amid rising U.S. Treasury yields. However, the KOSPI staged a dramatic recovery to close higher as heavy buying in semiconductor giants like Samsung Electronics, driven by shareholder return hopes, offset macroeconomic headwinds. The benchmark KOSPI rose 60.37, closing at 6,912.95. Looking ahead, Secretary Besant hinted that Treasury buybacks could exceed $4 billion and that further fiscal consolidation measures could come early next week, arguing that current yields fail to reflect true economic fundamentals. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
Samsung Electronics and LG Electronics have once again showcased their design prowess, racking up 62 awards between them at a major international design competition. Our Hong Sa-jung tells us more.
Samsung Electronics and LG Electronics said Friday that they have each won 45 and 17 awards at the International Design Excellence Awards 2026. Known as IDEA, the awards are organized by the Industrial Designer Society of America and are considered one of the world's 3 most prestigious awards for design. The awards recognize designs based on innovation, commercial viability, and improvement in user experience across 20 categories. Samsung won the newly introduced Impact Award with its home appliance accessibility design, which was recognized for its sustainability. The design improves accessibility for users by accommodating users' individual physical needs, including differences in mobility, vision, and hearing. A bronze award went to the Infinite AI air purifier, featuring a pop-up cleaner booster that automatically falls away when not in use. Samsung was recognized with bronze awards, bringing the company's total up to 9 for the portable memory, which is a premium portable storage device with the outer case made solely from recycled aluminum, and the mobile origami package, which uses a single sheet of paper using an origami method. Continuing its strong momentum, Samsung also won 12 prizes in the brand and communication category at the Red Dot Awards. The company's privacy display, first adopted by the Galaxy S26 Ultra, won the main Best of the Best award for its standout feature that restricts visibility of its screen from an angle to protect user privacy. Additionally, the Moving Style and Vision AI companion visual branding took home top prizes. LG Electronics also made its mark at the IDEA Awards, winning 17 awards this year. The home robot Cloyd, LG PuriCare System Air Purifier, and 10 other products were named finalists. LG also earned 5 bronze awards for products including its LG Signature OLED W, LG Therma V heat pump, and LG Purifier Aero Mini. It is worth noting that Cloyd, Signature OLED W, the LG PuriCare System Air Purifier, and the LG Gram Pro achieved a triple crown by winning all 3 major international design awards, which include the IF Design Award, Red Dot Design Award, and IDEA. LG also received awards in the packaging design category for its lifestyle audio brand, including the X-Boom Audio Series and LG Sound Suite. As Korean tech giants continue to gain recognition at prestigious international design awards, their competitiveness is extending beyond functionality to encompass design and user experience. Hong Sa-jung, Arirang News.
The experience of enjoying Korea's cultural heritage is moving from daytime into summer nights. Across the country, cultural programs are bringing historic sites to life after sunset, offering visitors new ways to experience and appreciate Korea's heritage. To tell us more, we are joined by our culture correspondent, Cho Young-in. Welcome, Young-in.
Thank you for having me.
So, Young-in, National Heritage Night, bringing Korea's heritage to life. I hear it's taking place in Suwon City this week, right?
Right, Dami. The idea behind National Heritage Night is to make cultural heritage more accessible by moving beyond simply viewing historic sites during the day. In Suwon, historic sites are transformed after sunset with light installations and performances, allowing visitors to experience the heritage in a more immersive way. Let's take a look. As the sun sets, historical sites across Korea take on a new life, transforming into vibrant cultural spaces. This week, we head to Suwon, Gyeonggi-do Province to experience its National Heritage Night and see how the event brings Korea's heritage to life after dark.
I'm from Suji, Yongin. It's my wife's birthday, so we came here after work. It's our first time here. I'd only heard about it, but they've really done a great job. It's beautiful, and it's a great place to take a walk.
I heard they had done a great job showcasing the national heritage here, so we came for a walk. The night view is also beautiful, so we're really enjoying our time here.
Now in its 10th year, Suwon's National Heritage Night features media art performances at Hwahongmun Gate and light illuminations around the Yongyeon Pond. Suwon Hwasong Fortress, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, provides a unique setting. Originally built in the late 18th century by King Jeongjo, the fortress preserves a centuries-old history while standing alongside the city's modern life.
I heard the National Heritage event had already ended, but then I found out it had been extended, so I came by chance. We also visited Hwasong Palace during its nighttime opening, explored some of Suwon's beautiful spots, and came to enjoy some good food.
With interactive programs taking place throughout the weekends, visitors can explore the heritage sites while enjoying live performances and hands-on experiences. While running through August 30th in Suwon, National Heritage Night can also be experienced in other cities across the country, each offering programs inspired by their local heritage. The event offers a new way to connect Korea's heritage with contemporary culture while preserving its historical value.
Young, and it does look beautiful. Now, a similar event featuring cultural programs are being held across the country. Could you tell us some that we might see this autumn?
Right, Dami. The event has been especially popular on weekends, prompting the Suwon program to be extended to 17 days. And Suwon is just one example. This year, the Korea Heritage Service has selected 55 heritage sites nationwide to host National Heritage Night programs. Events will also be held in cities including Wonju, Yeosu, Gongju, and Gyeongju starting September, with many more to come. The programs are organized around 8 themes, including night views, night walks, historical stories, performances, exhibitions, markets, local food, and overnight stays. Seoul will also offer opportunities to experience the atmosphere of the palaces on autumn nights. The Changdeokgung Moonlight Tour, for example, will be held starting September 10, offering visitors a chance to explore Korea's royal palaces under the moonlight.
Now, as we find new ways to make heritage more accessible, Young-un, how can we strike a balance between modernizing heritage sites and also preserving their original value?
Well, the Gangneung Heritage Night is a good example of how these programs can connect heritage with local community. So the event attracted more than 160,000 visitors, allowing people to experience Gangneung's history and culture while also bringing new energy to the local economy. But experts stress that these programs should not focus solely on creating spectacular content, but should be designed to deepen people's understanding of the historical value of national heritage and build greater support for its preservation.
Programs such as National Heritage Night allow people to experience national heritage in a familiar and engaging way, helping strengthen their appreciation and awareness of preservation. For international visitors, they can also be an effective way to showcase the value and significance of Korean culture.
Ultimately, UNESCO emphasizes that preserving and protecting world heritage is about more than simply maintaining historic sites. It can also bring vitality to local communities, foster dialogue, and help pass on the value of cultural heritage to future generations.
Indeed. Young-un, thank you for the coverage tonight.
My pleasure.
Rain is falling across the central parts of the country, while the southern regions are seeing some heavy showers. Downpours are hitting parts of the Jeollado and Gyeongsang-do provinces, with rainfall rates of around 30 to 50 millimeters per hour, prompting heavy rain alerts. Most of the rain in Chungcheongdo and Gyeongsangbuk-do province will taper off by tonight, but Seoul and the surrounding capital area, along with inland areas of Gangwon-do province, will stay wet through tomorrow morning. After a brief break, scattered showers will move across inland areas nationwide tomorrow afternoon, bringing another round of 5 to 40 millimeters of rain. With hot and humid air moving in, many places could see tropical night or tropical night-like heat with lows of 24 degrees in Seoul and 25 degrees in Busan. And tomorrow afternoon, the heat will stay hot and humid, with Seoul reaching 30 degrees and Gwangju 33 degrees. We'll continue to see late summer heat with temperatures staying near 33 degrees. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.